I've known him. I said that I told him I can't introduce him. Unless, so we can first of all ask who doesn't know who is Dr. Miguna Miguna. I would be very happy to know who doesn't know him, because that is the easiest way, rather than asking who doesn't, or who knows him, so that I don't have to introduce him further. But anyway, I have to say one or two things about him. I have to say that Dr. Miguna is a visionary and committed revolutionary Pan-Africanist who believes in and is committed to more equal, accountable, and transparent governance. You know, he has stood for even governor of Nairobi and several things which he had said, which he wanted to change. He obtained his Bachelor of Arts degree with the distinction in political science and philosophy from the University of Toronto in June 1990. I think some of us, we were still here, we were still young. A Juris Doctor, JD, from Osgood, I think he'll be able to pronounce it better when he comes here, Hall Law School of Yoko University in June 1993, and a Master of Laws, LLM degree with a distinction from the same school in June 2001. He was admitted to the Ontario, that is in Canada, bar as a barrister and solicitor in February 1995. You can remember what was your age by that time. And as an advocate in Kenya in 2008. So he is an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. Between 1989 and 1994, he was the coordinator of a committee for democracy in Kenya, that is CDK, an exile-based pro-democracy lobby group that successfully campaigned for the repeal of Section 2A of the old constitution that had made Kenya a one-party state. Dr. Miguna has served as a senior advisor and chief strategist for the Orange Democratic Party, ODM, or movement, ODM, and is its party leader, and also a senior advisor on the coalition, constitutional and legal affairs to the Prime Minister of the Republic of Kenya. Dr. Miguna has been a commentator on cultural and socio-political affairs and has published 6 books and thousands of articles in journals and newspapers both in Kenya and abroad. His latest books are Peeling Back the Mask. I believe most of you must have seen it and also read it. I read it when it was, I think, the same week. A Quest for Justice in Kenya 2012 and Kidneys for the King, Deforming the Status Quo in Kenya 2013. So you can say you are talking to an academician. So Wakili, when we start the School of Law, which the principal is really pursuing, make sure that we get our experienced reader to be part of it. Now, today the Kenya Methodist University fraternity and friends are honored to host and to hear from Dr. Miguna and his plans for Kenyan, especially the youth, as a leader who has always been openly vocal critic on leadership and governance of the country. Our chief guest, I also want to take this opportunity to tell you that my seniors, the owners of the Kenya Methodist University, are aware of your presence here. When the principal alerted me about it, the first person to communicate with was the presiding bishop of the Methodist Church in Kenya, who is our chancellor, the chairman of Board of Trustees, Honorable Cyrus Murioki, and the chairman of Council, University Council, who is Dr. Boy. So all of the 3 of them, I expected them to say, hey, you have brought a very hot person, maybe we should cool down fast. But all of them, I remember Mheshimiwa Murioki said, the university should have opinions and ideas from everybody. And then the presiding bishop told me, let us have him. You should not only have those ones who you feel they are going to tell you what you want. Have also those ones who are going to tell you something new. Yeah, which is not just what you have been hearing always. Then the chairman of council said, let us have him because he is going to help us also to be known that we are there, and also we have public lectures. So I agreed with all of them. In fact, they sort of surprised me, but they are all aware about that. The information was shared with the University Council and also our Board of Trustees. So now I take this opportunity, we can start and then we welcome our chief guest, Dr. Miguna Miguna, to come us and tell us one thing or very many things. Welcome, our chief guest. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for inviting us.
Good afternoon. Many decades ago, when I was still at the University of Nairobi, we used to say, "Comrades, power." See, you don't know. I think that greeting probably is not as popular as it was then. Thank you very much, Mr. Professor David Gichoya, the Vice Chancellor. I thank the principal, the faculty, the students, but I also thank my friend and lawyer, Adrian Kamotho Njenga, who is the one who initiated the invitation. And as the principal said and the Vice Chancellor echoed, I accepted when I was invited. I thank you very much, and I think you can sit. This is the first university I'm actually addressing since November 12, 1987, in the Republic of Kenya. November 12, 1987, I was a student leader at the University of Nairobi. And I remember giving the last speech at what we used to then call the Great Court. It was a Kamukunji. Meetings at the University of Nairobi were done at a Kamukunji, the gathering of students. And I remember that night, about 3 o'clock, there was a knock on my door at Hall 6. And I was alone in the room because as a student leader, I had the privilege of staying alone. And there were 3 guns pointed at me. I was abducted, I was detained, together with others. That night, we were 4, and we were released on the 27th of November, 1987. And when we were released, I was escorted to the hall. I found the university not looking like the way I had left it. It looked like a war zone. It was deserted. It was destroyed, and you couldn't recognize that it was the same university that I had been just a few weeks ago. And my things were not there, and I didn't know where they were. I was given fare, taken to a Kamba bus service, which I took to Kisumu, arriving the following morning. And the newspaper I saw after I came out of the bus was "Varsity Expels 43." And my picture was there together with the 4 of us. And I read that I had led the demonstration that led to the closure of the university. And remember, they took me from my room. I didn't know that there was a demonstration for the weeks that I was detained at Nyayo House. I had no idea that the university had been closed. But to the newspapers in Kenya, I had led a demonstration. That is why when I call them Githeri media, you have to understand the context. So that is the historical context. They knew they were lying. They knew it wasn't true. They knew we hadn't been charged. They knew there were no credible allegations against us. They knew we hadn't been convicted. They knew we had been expelled for no reason, but they just said, Miguna Miguna, Kaberere Njenga, Munoru Nderi, Angala Mwomo, and Muleji led a demonstration. In fact, they said we led a riot. The following day, Buke Wafula was jailed for 5 years for having conspired with Libyans and Ugandans, some white supremacists, allegedly from the United States, to overthrow the government of Kenya. We were now supposed to have been involved in a conspiracy to overthrow the government of dictator Arap Moi. Now, can you imagine that? So if you go to the archives, that's what you find. But ask yourself, is that the correct history? Is that what really happened? Of course not. But nobody wants to know. Nobody wants to ask you the question, what really happened? Fast forward more than 30 years ago, again, I'm sleeping in my house in Runda Estate, having returned and built it with my sweat, and there is a bomb that explodes at the entrance of my house. I wake up, I know something is wrong. I go to my phone, press send, because I'd already anticipated the attack. That is how I am alive today. Because I sent that message, which went to the BBC, went to all the media around the world, went to all organizations around the world, went to all human rights advocates around the world, I am alive today. Had I not sent that message, I think you would have attended my funeral. Because there is no other way of explaining why anybody would come to our house at 4:30, 5 o'clock at night. I have a gate which they did not knock. They broke through. I have a bell at the door which they did not ring. And they did not knock the door. They did not try to break it. They came with explosives, what in military language is called military charges. They exploded it and came into the house, many of them. Now, they didn't arrest me. They were not in uniform. They didn't say they are police. They did not identify themselves. They did not say who they were or what they were looking for. They did not say why they didn't knock. And they started rummaging through the house, destroying things, breaking doors, but made sure they did not come to the room where I'm sure they knew I was for 2 hours. When they broke it, I was just standing there. They were shocked. They laughed. They said, "Man, you're smart. You mean you have been here all this time and you said absolutely nothing and did absolutely nothing?" Because that's what they were waiting for, and I knew. You make a wrong move and they shoot you and they say there was a shootout. You don't get me there. So let's come back to the topic. That's just a prelude. So the topic is, I'm told, good governance, culture, and international integration. Just like that. I did a bit of my due diligence because I've had no relationship with this institution. I knew it existed, but I never had a relationship with it. I didn't even know that Kamotho taught here or was affiliated with this institution. So having been invited, I say to myself, how do I talk about culture? How do I talk about good governance and international integration in the context of a cultural day at KeMU, which I have no idea about? So I researched as to who started the Methodist movement. And I came across a gentleman called John Wesley, 1703, 1791, in the US. Who was John Wesley? What did he stand for? What did he do? What was his philosophical, ideological principles? And then I found John Wesley was almost like me, which is what interested me. He was originally ordained as an Anglican. I know I'm telling you these things and you know. But just for the purposes of anchoring my speech today. So ordained as an Anglican, rebelled against the traditional Anglican beliefs, and became the founder, or one of the founders, there were two, of the Methodist movement. Was persecuted with a group of his followers by the then establishment because they were seen as social threats to the establishment. And because he was dogged, because he was persistent, because he never gave up, the Methodist movement prospered, splendored, and today you have KeMU, which is founded based on those principles. So, how did I become who I am? I know that is a question that many people want to ask. My background. Where was I born? What did I do? Why do I do the things that I do? All right? So I'll answer that question, or those questions, very briefly. So I was born of a peasant mother, because my father died before I was born. I was born of a peasant mother in a village called MIGUNA, in Kano Plains, in Kisumu County. And I went to a local school called Apondo Primary School, where I did my CPE and went to Njiko Secondary School, where I did my O-levels, and went to Njiri's High School in Moranga, where I did my A-levels before I went to the University of Nairobi. But when I was young, a little boy, before I even went to Standard 1, I realized, and I know many of you have realized this in your lives, a sense of injustice that I felt had been, just as a boy, inflicted on my mother. Because I think after my father died, my mother then, imagine a woman in the village who had no education, is working the farms with her hand, raising a family with very little, so rudimentary gardening, so to speak, right? I felt that she had had a very bad experience with the way she was treated culturally. The farms that my father left, I think most of them were taken away from her. But she was a widow. She could barely feed us. So we were there. So really the first thing that made me become socially conscious, the first thing that inculcated in me a sense of the fight for justice was the condition of my mother. Very basic. A lot of people would not know this and they would not care. But I do. Because this is where I got the spirit for the fight against injustice. As a boy, I could tell that the society was not just. I could tell that the treatment, as a small boy, the only thing you think about, the contours of your universe starts with your mother. Because that's the person who breastfeeds you, that's the person who raises you, that is the person who does everything to you, carries you on her back. So really, this is the entire universe as a boy that I felt was happening. This was unfair. By the time I go to secondary school and I read and I introspect and I interrogate, I realize that the village was a whole world out there with the culture of impunity embedded to the marrow. And I have never ever shifted from the focus on how to transform those cultural experiences of injustice so that we have a transformative system of governance based on merit, merit only. So that merit defines and encapsulates everything we do. If you work hard, you get paid corresponding to what you produce. If you are good in your class, you get better marks than others who are less good. If you are a good runner, you get a medal for being the best runner. If you are the best singer, you get awarded for being the best singer. If they were judging public speech and your speech was the most rigorous, they applaud you for being the most rigorous in oratorical skills. If you are a lawyer and you did good research and litigated effectively, you win your cases based on the evidence that you tender and the laws that are applicable. And it should apply across the board. If we did that, we would not have the level of unemployment in this country, which is lopsided. Most of the university students that graduate do not even know if they would ever be employed. Not because they have not qualified, they have not gone to school, they do not have what it requires to actually join the workforce. It's because of political know-who. If you don't have the political contacts and you don't know the people, you will never have a chance of being considered for employment. And that is wrong. So I am reducing it to the very basic, because when people talk about good governance, most of the time is theory rather than practice. But I am saying to you that if you went today to Canada, where I've been in exile for 4 years and 6 months, I became a lawyer and practiced law and bought myself a house and raised a family, having had zero in my pocket at the beginning. Because the society allows people who work hard and who are qualified to thrive. I don't think that is the same in this country. Not since the 1990s coming forward. I know by the time I was going to school, as I told you in 1987, we used to call Buruburu Hall 14. So if you know how the university system at the University of Nairobi used to work, we used to have Hall 1, the residence for students, up to Hall 13. So we used to say, After Hall 13, when you graduate, the first place you will leave is Buruburu. Tell me how many students think that way nowadays? I think almost none. Almost no student thinks that after graduating from the university, the first place you should go to live is Buruburu. Most people go to the slums. Slum now is the first port of call for a student without deep-pocketed parents and relatives who can lift them up. And that is wrong. That is not just wrong for university students, it's wrong for the rest of the society. Because slum is not a place where people should live. It's not fit even for animals. But unfortunately, most Kenyans live in slums. In my long journey, and I have had a long journey of struggle, never giving up, never surrendering. Surrender is not in my DNA. Fortunately, God did not put that in my DNA. I don't even know it as a word that applies to me. I have only two paths in life, right and wrong. And I never take this turn. Never, even if I die. I tell them, this is the right path. Kill me if you want me to go there. So it's always been the right path. Truth or lies, I always take the truth path. Justice or injustice, I always prefer justice. The society has made most young people, particularly students, to believe that authority cannot be opposed, that you cannot resist injustice and survive or win, that you cannot tell people with power and money that they are wrong and you will be able to survive the following day. I think I have done it successfully. I think I have proven that theory wrong. I'm alive. If in doubt, come and pinch me. I'm quite alive. Right? As you can see, I'm healthy, despite having been sedated and things injected in me. And I'm not begging. I'm not begging for money. I'm not begging for appointment. I'm not begging for anything. I'm not begging for oxygen. Right? I'm breathing in quite eloquently. And I am patient and persistent. Just like John Wesley. I never gave up. And I said to myself, if between going back to Kenya with this kind of injustice and dying in exile, which one would you choose? Exile any day. Exile any day. Death in exile. I welcome that. Because if the exchange is that you come to support something that you don't believe in, something that is fake, like the BBI was, a concoction so that you can zombify the entire population so as to allow a minority who are not qualified and have no capacity or interest to govern for the public interest to continue dominating the country forever in perpetuity, then I would rather just go in a footnote, in a historical footnote, that there lived a man called MIGUNA MIGUNA who tried to oppose this. And I would be satisfied. But as I was saying, over the journey that I took, the long journey, there have been instances and glimpses of resistance throughout. by different people that have enabled me to speak the way I do. For example, when I went to Njiko Secondary School, what the first pair of shoes I wore was when I was going to that school that day. I know that is something many people say. Mine was actually true. The only reason I graduated from Njiko Secondary School was teachers realized I was good and decided to break the rules. Literally. So instead of chasing me from school because of lack of school fees, they allowed me to go to school, even though I had not paid school fees. And because I did not have money to buy, you know, in school, and I know even in university here it is happening, you have to buy milk, you have to buy cocoa, you have to buy sugar, you buy things for purposes of surviving, right? They appointed me captain of the dining hall so that I could eat as much as I want, as long as I could study. So I don't want to take too much time, but let me finish the story. So that's how I managed to finish on Njiko Secondary School. I ate well without spending anything. I was not sent away. When I went to Njiri's High School, which is in Muranga, I was, again, because these teachers, and I don't know about now, but at the time, they were very capable of identifying good students and ensuring that they stayed and managed to finish. They made me a deputy captain, and they supported me there. Is it time gone? Yes. Okay. And when I left Njiri's, again, I had not finished my tuition. At the point that I'd been expelled and had run into exile and was in Toronto and needed certificates, transcripts, whatnot to prove that I'd gone to school, which Moi had refused to make me live with or get, because you had to get these certificates directly from the institution to another institution to prove that you attended them. A vice principal of Njiri sent the certificate without me having completed my fees. You see, I told you they break the rules. If you don't break unfair and just rules, you can never transform society. This is what John Wesley did. And so I'm trying to say that those who say, I just followed the law, I just followed the command, I just followed the rules, if those are unfair laws, unfair commands, you owe it to society to break those rules. Only follow fair, just, and laws that serve the public interest. That would be good governance. And at the University of Toronto, this is what happened. I tell you this story as students so that you can learn. I'm giving you this example so that it's not just a pep talk. My memory is very good. That has served me very well in life. On the 25th of June, 1988, I arrived in Toronto. That's the date I arrived. 25th June, 1988. On Monday, the following Monday, I walked to the University of Toronto. Literally walked. I asked for direction. I was shown the university. I asked for the registrar's office. I was taken to the registrar's office. I was told the registrar was not there, but the deputy was there. I was told they had a full day meetings. They could not see me. I say, I will wait. I sat down and I waited. And I waited and I waited. Lunch came. They came, told me, oh, go for... I said, no, I'll wait. Just tell him I'm waiting. I waited. About 2:30, the deputy registrars come out and called me into the office. And he says, look, I'm very busy. I'm very busy. I know you've been waiting, but you don't have an appointment. So I said, okay, I'll tell you a story. And then after that, you can tell me whether you agree or not. And I said, I must be admitted to this university. All right? So I'm not giving you an option. And I'll tell you why. He said, no, the deadline's already passed. The 15th was the last date, and you have to apply to this. It's called Ontario University Center. They have a joint admission, even though you have to indicate which university you're applying. I say, I know that. But I must start classes in September. I was expelled last year, November 1987. I've had a whole year. I've been a refugee all over. So I went to Tanzania, from Tanzania, Swaziland, from Swaziland, I ended up in Canada. I heard Matiang'i saying I was a Canadian citizen in 1988. I laughed because I had not even left Africa. But anyway, long story short, he said, okay, the story is compelling. I'll give you a conditional admission. You see, I'm kicking through the doors, and I'm only a student, and I don't know anybody, and I don't have any coin in my pocket. A conditional admission, I say, that's fine. But you have to bring this. I'll try. So when I joined the university, I joined as a conditional student. And I didn't have my transcripts. So I sent my cousin who was doing masters at the University of Nairobi, can you go to the registrar and tell them to send my transcript to this address? Imagine, the registrar then was actually a Luo, just like me. And he refused to do it. So it's not about linguistic, cultural, or tribal affiliation. He was working for the state. He refused. But somehow, I always manage. I had the transcript eventually sent. By the time, as I say, long story short, I spent 18 months at the University of Toronto and graduated at the top of my class. And when I left the University of Toronto, I was one of the very few people that could call a registrar and tell them a student has arrived from Kenya under the same circumstances as me, could you admit him? And they would admit him on my say-so. And some of them are prominent lawyers here. They know themselves. All right? That came to my office and I simply made a call. And they were admitted on the spot, on my say-so. Mr. Miguna, if you say these students are good, we'll admit them. They all proved themselves. I have had many stories that have never helped anybody since I went to Canada. I've even represented Uhuru Kenyatta's family in Canada. If they want the truth, I've represented Tuju, for example, in Canada. I don't want to say, but most of them have gone through my office. This idea that, oh, we don't know who Miguna has represented, but deep down they know. All right? So, I want to conclude by saying that if you're a student at KeMU, have faith in yourself. Believe in yourself. Don't be fake. Be authentic. Be original. Come to terms with yourself. Right? Don't copy things and people. Just be yourself. That is the first criteria of success. Is be yourself. Number 2, don't let surrender be in your vocabulary. Surrender, giving up. Oh, it is too hard. Nothing is too hard to be surmounted. Nothing. 3, be persistent. These are all things that all of us are capable of. The last one, this is the one that is most people cannot do, but which I urge people to do. Be fearless. At the end of the day, when the chips are down, when all is said and done, we will all die. All of us, without exception. So you have to choose. How do I want to die? How do I want society to remember me after I die? As a coward that died on my knees, begging for mercy? Or as a fearless man dying resisting injustice? I would rather the latter than the former. So I made a promise to my mother as I started and to myself. Miguna will not die on his knees. Always standing tall, resisting injustice, and never kneeling down. If that is unpopular, so be it. If that is called arrogance, they can take it to the deepest part of the Atlantic and bury it there. Because I will not change. Now, I gleaned, for purposes of the benefit of students, and I will quickly just run through them, the principles of governance that I believe should govern this country. The country Kenya. And that if that happened, and then we are able to do that, replicate that in East Africa, Africa continent, and the world, then we could have international integration. Because otherwise you can't have international integration. Which essentially means that you have a set of principles that people live by. How are you going to have the same set of principles that people live by from the North Pole to the South Pole and from one part of the universe to the other? It's not going to be easy. So number one, responsiveness. Responsiveness. The ability of institutions, countries, and individuals holding public office to adhere to, abide by, and respond through objective rules, laws, and principles the same way. So that if I come to KeMU, I go to University of Nairobi, I go to Kenyatta, it would not matter whether this is a Christian institution and the other one is a secular institution. The principles that govern the operations of public officers in these institutions would be objective and would be adhered to the same way. And delivering public services in a non-discriminatory way. It would not matter whether one is tall, one is short, one is brown, one is black, one speaks a different language or adheres to a different culture or gender or any other idiosyncrasies. It would be a similar responsiveness. I'm not saying that if one is disabled and the other one is able, you would not be able to empower the disabled to be able to meet certain conditions. That is called accommodation. It does not take away from responsiveness. The next one is participation. For example, when we have elections, it has to be, the way of conducting elections have to be participatory. It has to be open and transparent. It has to be fair, right? So that the results can reflect the will of the people. That is a positive principle. Efficiency and effectiveness on institutions and people who hold public office is the third one. You want to be able to do an exam today, and in 2 weeks, you should be expecting the results. It cannot be fair, it cannot be effective or efficient that 3 months or 6 months later, the results have not come out, or you do not know when they are going to come out. I'm just giving that as an example. The fourth one is openness and transparency. You should be able to go to the registrar's office and ask to see your file, and it's actually produced in short order. It cannot be transparent. It cannot be open when it is opaque. I know that word has acquired currency in this country. It has to be transparent. And it has to be transparent to everyone. Unless there is a law of secrecy, for example, on national intelligence or security, which is known. So you know there is a law, you know there is a code of secrecy, you know where it applies, and you know this information cannot be given. Or there is a tender, and you know that this box is a tender box. People are supposed to put in their bids. And between the 1st and the 15th, the box will not be opened, but it will be opened on the 16th. And it will be opened in a public manner so that everybody sees who has won the tender. The fifth one is rule of law. You all know how many court orders were disobeyed in my case, right? Rule of law dictates that before you accuse anybody of anything, you give them notice. The notice has to be in writing. The notice has to give reasons why you suspect they did something. Then you must give them an opportunity to answer to the charges or allegations. It must be before an independent, impartial tribunal or court. And they must have a right to hire a lawyer or advocate if they need it. And then you have to allow them to air, to test, to interrogate the charges. They must be able to ask questions about the allegations. So they must take you to court. And once the court has processed this allegation to the end, an independent, impartial, neutral tribunal or judge has to render judgment, again in writing, and give reasons. And if somebody disagrees with these judgments, they appeal. So abduct me from my house, destroying it, and then destroying my passport, then forcing me into a plane, going to where I don't want to go, and I did not book a flight. Then after you do that, you stop me from coming back. That's not rule of law. Again, and I know this one has been propagated by the Githeri media for a long time. You cannot deport by law a citizen from his own country. That does not happen. It's like saying you can have a child without becoming pregnant. You can't. It's an impossibility. All right? A woman has to get pregnant to get a child. Even test tube babies have to be, the fertilization has to take place. The same here. If somebody has citizenship, the only thing you do, you take them to court. If you take them out of the country to another country, that's not called a deportation. That's called a rendition. A rendition, the media will not tell you that. Or, If the person is wanted in another country and has been charged or convicted, and therefore warrants of arrest have been issued by the Interpol, the international police, you can extradite them. You do not deport a citizen. So when the media says, Miguna was deported, Miguna was deported, you see, you ask yourself, honestly, these people went to school. Why don't they just go to the dictionary and check what is the meaning of deportation? That's so hard. Even Google will tell you. You know, the elementary school teacher called Google will tell you deportation is a process. Number one, the person being deported must be a foreigner, not a citizen. And you cannot be a foreigner if you are born in in this country, which means there's no process of being unborn. Miguna was only born once. The umbilical cord was buried in Magina village. You cannot unborn him. So, so there has to be a notice, first of all, to me, if I was a foreigner, which I am not. So there is a notice which tells me I have to go somewhere and show cause why I can continue to be in this country having violated this or that law. And then I go before a tribunal. Even as a foreigner, that's the process of removing them. You cannot go get these Chinese walking on the streets and immediately take them to JKIA and then remove them. That's illegal. Because you don't know what they're doing on the street. So you have to accord them due process of the law. And you can never subvert the Constitution, which is what happened in this case, violate the law, which has happened in this case, disobey court orders. So rule of law is a cardinal principle in good governance. You don't have rule of law, you cannot have democracy. You don't have rule of law, you cannot have predictability of court cases or any, and you cannot tell the MAGAs on the street to obey the law when the chief MAGA lives in State House. You cannot. They are also watching the news. And when they see me being pushed into a plane and I don't want to go, and they tear my clothes, and then they destroy the passport, then they say they don't care about court orders, they cannot tell a MAGA that he should stop magging. Because the same rule should apply to State House and also on the street. That is where we go wrong. That is why we cannot stop criminality, because it has to start at the top. If you don't do it at the top, don't expect these guys to comply. Ethical conduct. It may seem like music, but people who hold positions in public office or people who occupy public office must conduct themselves in a manner that adheres to good ethics. If you go to a public office, and it happened some time back, and a governor or a cabinet secretary tells you that they spent 100,000 buying condoms, you must say it is wrong. Isn't it? Because that is not the purpose of that public office. It's not a brothel. What are you doing with condoms in the office? Right? So right away you know it is wrong. You don't have to give me a PhD dissertation on what is wrong. You just know it is wrong. And many others. Number 7, competence and capacity. As I said, there are so many people that hold public office, and you know. You don't have even to ask them, where did you go to school? Do you have this diploma or certificate? You just know this guy is incompetent. Right? Like the other day, somebody says, we are going to make sure there is no funding for public universities. Now, you know that is incompetence, because you ask yourself, so your office is Minister of Education. That's a public office. And you're supposed to be presiding over public education, but you are saying you want to render yourself unemployed by getting rid of public education, which is why you are appointed. So he wants to be Minister of Education of private institutions. You see what I mean? He could just apply to be director of KeMU. If that's what he's interested in. You have no business being in public sphere if you do not understand what it entails. It does not require a degree. It requires a logical mind. And you don't need a degree to be logical. You don't need a diploma to be logical. You just have to have a modicum of competence. Your mind must be able to work like it's supposed to be once you have a moderate level of IQ. Capacity is just being able to do what you're supposed to do. A mechanic is supposed to repair my car, and I'm not supposed to tell him how to do it. He's supposed to know how to diagnose the problem. He's supposed to fix it. The car is supposed to go, to run. If the car has not come to an end of its lifespan and should be discarded, how many people do you know in this country that do not know even why they are appointed into the positions they are appointed? And they are very high up there. In fact, the only qualification they have for appointment is that they are incompetent. It's progress. If you don't have this, you cannot progress. You will not go anywhere because you would not even know that you made a mistake the last time because you are navel-gazing. Sustainability and long-term orientation is another one. I just have two more. If you are not self-sustaining because you are not injecting fresh blood, then again, you cannot grow. You cannot become anything if you don't have long-term goals. The fact that you don't know that Miguna has long-term goals doesn't mean I don't have. But I'm simply saying we must all have long-term goals. You don't have to declare them. You just have to have them. But as an institution, private or public, it must be known. People within the institution must know. So you set your goals and you work towards them. And the decisions taken must be shared. The 10th one is sound financial management. If you go to the Parliament of Kenya, whether the National Assembly or Senate, if you go to the counties of Kenya, if you go to the Treasury, everything is murky, almost everything. And it's been like that for 60 years. That is why we are a third world. That is why despite hard work of Kenyans, despite high productivity by Kenyans, despite the creativity that I've seen even here at KeMU, we are going backwards while other countries took off and are developed. They give you the example of Singapore. They give you the example of Malaysia. They give you the example of South Korea. They give you many examples. Countries that Kenya used to give money to. But now, we go with a begging bowl. And I know most of the students here want to leave Kenya and go abroad. They don't want to stay. Almost 90% of them, probably close to 100. And that is wrong. Because you can change your country, you can transform it, and that will be the motto of transformation. Because the youth dictate the future. The last one, human rights, cultural diversity, and social cohesion. They say that you judge a people, a culture, a civilization, a country, by how it treats its most vulnerable. So if you go out there and you find somebody who has been run over by a vehicle and you just walk and go, something is wrong with you. If you see somebody being attacked and you don't feel anything, something is wrong with you. If you see a victim of injustice and you spit at them, or you jeer at them, or you cheer the person inflicting harm, something seriously is wrong with you. In a way, you are barbaric and uncivilized. Whether it is a country, whether it is a person, whether it is an institution, there has to be the ability to adhere to the principles of human rights, cultural diversity, and social cohesion. When you see people performing like the guys who performed here, even if you don't understand the language, even if you don't understand the way of life, you have to be able to appreciate that it is other people's culture. It may not be yours, but it is not less than yours. Then the last question is where I started, which is, with all this, in academics they call them problematique. In all these problems and, of course, experiences, how do we have international integration? That's a question for you to answer. I finish there. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Dr. Miguna Miguna. Please, I request that you still continue staying on the stage for a little while. Thank you. More applause for Dr. Miguna Miguna, please. Thank you very much. I need some guys to carry the chair up there so that we can be able to proceed to the next session, which is a question and answer session. Dr. Miguna, karibu sana. You can have a seat and some water, and give him that brisk. It was his wisdom, that one. Yes, you forgot it. I know. I remember that. Thank you. That's for wisdom. Just a minute. Let's wait first so that we do the Q&A. Oh, great. Oh, he needs to be dressed. Thank you. Yes, you are being dressed. I don't know how. Let me wait. I also don't know. Thank you. Oh, nice. Yeah. Yes, that's fantastic. So that you are now a real cultural ambassador. Yes. Oh, this is nice. Wow. 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 Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Have a seat, Dr. Miguna Miguna. Thank you so much. Do you have something to say after the dressing? Nothing. Thank you. Thank you so much. I know we have 2-3 questions. We will take very little time. We really appreciate this honor to have Dr. Miguna with us. Thank you, Adrian. Thank you, Principal, to ensure that there's a very scarce man is here at KeMU. Let me have the students who have the questions. Please, the 4 of you or 5 of you, kindly step forward. Let me have all of you forward, kindly, to save on time. Step forward. Yes, great. Thank you so much. Thank you. Very quickly, please. Very quickly. Let me have you studying here. There's no problem. Just line up here. Come here, come here. So that it will take short time. Yes. Yes, Dr. Miguna, these are our students. They have something for you. Yes, they have something for you. Thank you so much. Kindly introduce yourself and then ask the question.
Hello everyone, my name is Abdsalam Ahmed Sheikh, student of International Relations, second year. So my questions is saying, we talked about so many things. We talked about, transparency and all of good governance and all those stuff. So my question is, what is the major aspects that our leaders are lacking for good governance? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I request you take other questions, Dr. Miguna, so that...
Can I add more questions?
Please, a very quickly one.
Thank you.
Very quickly, please.
The second question is talking about merit and connections. Many youth and students who are graduates, almost in a year, 10,000 and thousands of students graduate. And we have this problem in Kenya, merits and connections. So many organizations, many institutions, county level, national level offices, mostly they look into connections. Who do you know? And most probably the student, the reasons to why they are unemployed and they are not having work to do is that. What do you can say about that? Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ibrahim Abd Mohamed. I was a former student of KeMU, but today I registered for PhD, starting a class in January 2023. I was also a former CEC Health from Wajir County. Karibu sana, Dr. Miguna Miguna. Sorry for the deportation. We are on top about it. The government was supposed to actually to follow the due process, the way you said.
Are you apologizing on behalf of the government?
No, I'm not. I'm not apologizing on behalf of anybody, but on myself. Sorry for that. Now you said in the governance that the government was supposed to follow the due process because the deportation itself is a process. Now, don't you think that you also put this country into a problem one time, 2017? You saw in the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, when we had already an elected government in place. Don't you think that time you were also supposed to follow the due process? Because already, in my view, I thought you also put this country in a problem. Today, maybe you could have been, somewhere else, maybe Uganda or somewhere else as refugees. So what's your take on that? You have been deported? Yes. Then what about the one of you saw in Raila Odinga? Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's proceed. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm John Green, student of International Relations, second year. So my question is, well, when you talk about youth empowerment, Kenya generally is made up of a young population. Most of Kenyans are young, they're still energetic. So, and you see when it comes to formulating of policies and all that, it's the, apologies to say this, but then the aged that do this, in that the youth are not directly involved in this. So what do you think are ways that the youth should be directly involved in the governing of the country, maybe an association for the youth such that they're also represented? Thank you.
Thank you. As we proceed, please, I need one faculty member, please. There's a chance for a faculty member. Kindly come forward as we finish this. Proceed.
Good afternoon and hi everyone. My name is Diana Doreen, a student from the Department of Journalism and Communication. My question is, have been following your social media handles, Dr. Miguna, and I've realized that most of times you talk about corruption and poor governance. So my question is, apart from handling the issue on social media, are there any other means that you can handle it beyond that?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Asante. Step forward.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, first of all, Mr. Miguna. Your demeanor is captivating, and I'm thankful that you're here. To my question, what major feats or achievements throughout your course of work can you attribute to saying that you have promoted a good cultural good Kenyan culture and promoted good governance? And again, just hypothetically, if given a chance to be the head of state, what sector in the government would you actually change to actually improve the lives of Kenyans in general? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Muchai. Step forward and just that's the question.
Good
The last
afternoon.
question.
My name is Dr. Muchai, lecturer in the Department of Hospitality. My question is, you ran for governor of Nairobi, and you didn't make it. I would like to know what we need to do, probably as the Kenyans, to change the culture whereby we have good choices of leaders, but good leaders don't get to the positions. So what is lacking there? What is the disconnect between the good leaders and being elected? That's one. Number two, we have the bad culture in this country whereby there are corruption, bad things are not happening. What do we need to do, like to change the culture of corruption and have the good governance in this country? And lastly, now that you're back, what the next course of action? What do you expect from Dr. Miguna Miguna? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Muchai. Over to you, Dr. Miguna Miguna. Asante. The mic is there. Thank you.
You are ready for me?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so I will go down the questions the way they were asked. And if I distort or misrepresent your question, you can correct me. The first one was, if I understood it correctly, major aspects of, I believe, leadership that our leaders lack towards good governance. And I think that was basically the question. If you heard me correctly when I was speaking, I listed 12 indicia of good governance, and I mentioned them one at a time. Most of Kenyan leaders, and by leaders I mean those who occupy public office, whether elected or appointed, lack the majority of things that I listed. And I think this is not a controversial point. It is mostly universally accepted that most Kenyan leaders, elected or appointed, are not appointed or elected on the basis of their competence or capacity to perform. Most people almost take it as a given that most, if not all of them, will either violate the law, infringe on ethical standards, or be outrightly subverters of the Constitution and the rule of law. And a large number of them are either convicted felons or criminals, or facing charges or not facing charges because of their political connections. So that's something that is accepted, unfortunately, in Kenya. And I remember when I used to work as the senior advisor to the Prime Minister, people expected me to steal so that I could be smart like others. So stealing was considered being smart. You are eating where you are working. You are smart to an average Kenyan. And I think this is the issue that we have to address. So to ask me the major aspects of leadership our leaders lack, I've listed them. They are obvious. And those are the ones we have to change. If those do not change substantially, Kenya is going to become a basket case. Kenya, as we speak, is bankrupt. That's the truth. Over 60% of revenue that is collected through taxes are spent servicing debt. So turn that around and assume you are Kenya and you are earning 1,000 shillings a month, and 60 of this money is servicing debt. You're literally bankrupt, because 40% of income goes to accommodation. So which means 40% is already gone. You've already spent 100%. You have not eaten, you have not bought clothes, you have not had any kind of entertainment, you have not had children and taken them to school, you have not attended funerals, you have not done anything, but the money is gone. That is Kenya. All right? We are spending more than we can afford. And the debt that is taken is used by those in power to become rich. Kenya is one of those countries where two families have more money than the government. Two families have money more than the treasury. Two families. I mean, this is obscene. It is an atrocity. So the problem is, when I say this, the press thinks I'm the problem because I'm saying it. And many of you here will look at me as the problem because I'm saying it. And that is where the problem is. Because you should be angry that somebody is bankrupting the country or already bankrupted is, and your children will not have a future, and your children's children. But you're not angry with me. You're not angry with them who are stealing. You're angry with the person saying they are stealing. So that is the problem. From the leadership to down here. The next question. The gentleman did not listen to me at all. Because the first word he used is the word I already articulated, explained very well why the word deportation should not and should never apply to me. So you see, if you go to class and you're a good teacher and you have taught, and at the end of the day, you got this, you just fail that person. But this is a leader. This is how sad it is. He has been a leader in his county. He introduced himself as having been a leader. So if he does not understand what I have explained in 1 hour, how the hell does this person understand public policy? You see the problem? No. I want to be very clear that if you can't internalize what I've just said in 1 hour, there is absolutely no way that you're going to deliver services to Kenyans. So I don't want to be so harsh, but I had to say it. Because there's no other way of saying it. I'm not a good diplomat, and I'm not in the business of diplomacy. I'm a truth teller. Then he made it worse. Then he said, I swore in Raila Odinga and did not follow due process. So remember I told you all the indicia of good governance. And I went through the process and said, if you remove a citizen from Kenya, you are doing two things. You are renditioning or you are extraditing. And it has to go through a legal process. And I said it has to start with notice. It goes to somebody being charged. It goes to an impartial, neutral tribunal, then which has to be fair. And at the end, you are either convicted or acquitted. So, which process did I not follow? So that's number one. Which is the due process I did not follow? I went to Uhuru Park like a citizen. Raila Odinga stood there. As a lawyer, I came with my pen. I came with my commission stamp. I signed. I stamped as a lawyer, which I am paid to do, which I have a license to do, and he swore. Right? Was he charged? Was Raila Odinga charged? Who was his coalition brother? Uhuru Kenyatta, the president that I am supposed to have been removing. So now Miguna, a lawyer who commissioned the signature, is guiltier than the one who wanted to replace Uhuru Kenyatta. Are you really normal? So these people took us 4 years running around with BBI and whatnot, and they were good. But Miguna, who only signed the oath, is supposed to be a criminal? All right, so assuming he was. So through some logical contortion, Miguna became a criminal. You charge him, you take him to court, you try him, you allow him to defend himself. Did that happen? What did they do? A whole government with the military, with the police, including Kwekwe and the flying squad and the DCI and all manner of people, put their tails between their legs, and all they could do is destroy my passport and force me into a plane. An unarmed man. One man. So you can tell that they were scared of this. There was nothing else. You take me to court and you look like an idiot. That's what they were scared of. I would have made lunch and supper and dinner combined into one in a theater in court. And they didn't. They couldn't stand that. So when you come here and say you swore Raila Odinga in, and why shouldn't I? Finally. Because he won an election. He did. I believe he did. So should I support the imposter that stole the election instead of the one that won? Even if I hate the one that won. And I didn't like him. I just did it because he won. You see, me, I'm a very clear person. I don't cover for all these things. So the person who betrayed me now is good, which is Raila Odinga, and the one that he betrayed me, Uhuru Kenyatta, are supposed to be good, but Miguna is bad. No, you're not going to get that through me. So there was no due process. And it went to court, and the court said Miguna did not break any law. He swore Raila in correctly, legally. End of story. Now, the next question. Policies vis-a-vis the youth and governance. The youth do not need policies in governance or otherwise to participate in public life or in the governance of the country. The Kenyan youth simply needs to be organized. And as it were today, you are completely and thoroughly disorganized. During my time at the University of Nairobi, many of these so-called second liberation fighters were not there. They had curled their tails between their legs, and they were either eating with KeMU, or some of them were in jail. Who struggled against one-party state? Two groups of people, no other. Mainly students, mainly at the University of Nairobi and Kenyatta, and some of their lecturers, and the clergy. Not the trade unions, not the civil servants, just students, some of their teachers, and the clergy. One-party rule ended or did not end? Yes, we had casualties. Yes, some of us died. Yes, some of us were pauperized. Yes, some of us were exiled. But we had a successful struggle that led to the repeal of Section 2A of the Constitution and the reintroduction of multi-party democracy. The one you enjoy now, yours truly fought for it. And I'm very proud of it. If somebody asks me, what contributions have you made? I can start there. And I was only your age. I wasn't older than you. When I was expelled from the University of Nairobi, I was 23 years of age. I wasn't older. But I didn't wait. And I only came of a peasant mother. I didn't have anybody holding my hand. All right? Nobody sponsored me to be a student leader. Students recognized leadership and voted for me. And I delivered. We fought more like crazy. And there was no turning back. That's what the youth of Kenya must do. There is no excuse. Policy will not make you anything. Policy is just something written on a piece of paper. Next one. That MIGUNA participate in through social media handles, other means beyond that. So, a good question, but unfortunate. So MIGUNA was exiled from Kenya by force using guns, and you saw it. The last time I regained consciousness in Dubai. Basically, they came, wrestled me to the ground, injected me with sedatives, and I passed out. I only woke up in Dubai, and I asked, where is this? Oh, that you are in Dubai. So I knew, right? So I'm taken out, and I've been trying to come back for 4 years and 6 months, and they have blocked me from coming back. What else did you want me to do? Honestly, if you're using your brain. I'm in Canada. It's more than 5,000 miles away, 10,000 miles away. The media is controlled and throttled by the same people. All right? S.K. Macharia, the chairman of Azimio, heads the Royal Media Group and Citizen, right? The Moi family owns KTN and the Standard Group, right? Azimio still, right? Uhuru Kenyatta owns Media Max with everything else, including the Nation Media Group, including K24. And then you tell MIGUNA, what other means other than social media? So, was I supposed to turn into osmosis? MIGUNA is just a human being like you. I didn't even have to do it through social media. Why me? Why not you? Why must I be the one? I can also just enjoy the beauty of my wife and the splendorency of my children and work like everybody else. So when you're talking about me, you have to say, he's a human being just like me. Is he doing less than me or more than me? And if I'm doing more than you, then you are failing, not me. Because if you did like me, this society would have changed already. So that's number one. Number two, social media is more powerful than any other media. unless you live in Jupiter. So let's come back to Earth. Which media is more pervasive in terms of how many people it reaches on a daily basis than social media? None. My Twitter handle alone is visited by more than 10 million people every day. My Twitter handle alone. I have almost 3 million people following me. That's just following. They're not following for anything else. They're following to read what I have to say. It's larger than KTN. And now you're telling me there's no effect. How can it be that I have no effect yet you know me? And I'm not your relative. And I don't teach at KeMU. Right? And I'm not your boyfriend. Right? So the only reason you know me is because I'm effective. We have to admit it. Some people will say, oh, he said he's effective, therefore he's arrogant. So what am I supposed to say? I'm ineffective when I'm effective. I am very effective. The reason why they don't want to interview me through the Githeri media is because they don't want me to speak. Because they know all the myths they have spread about me are false. And I'll be able to deconstruct them in 5 minutes. But because they want to perpetuate the myth, Miguna is mad, Miguna is arrogant, he can't get along with anyone. So how did I end up at KeMU if I don't get along with anyone? How come I was invited here and not them? You see what I mean? They just know it is blatantly false. But you know, they also know that one lie takes 10 laps around the world before the truth gets their pants on to take a walk. And the only difference between me and them is that I will tell it as it is every day, night and day, every year long, until I die. So the loss is theirs. So my dear, Miguna is very much alive. Miguna is continuing exactly what he started all the way in 1987 before your conception. And Miguna will continue. I know because I can just see you and I know you are young. So I know you could not have been conceived in 1987. I'm making it dramatically. And join me, right? So whether it is social media, whether it is physical appearance like I'm doing here, this is not social media. So I hope you did not disregard what I'm doing today. And whether it is one-on-one, I've done this throughout my life and I'm not going to surrender. All right. Major achievements regarding good governance. I think I've answered this question. If all this I'm doing, if all I did was just this talk, I'm okay. Because how many are you? You are more than 100. If I imparted just a little bit of knowledge, I'm okay. I can go to sleep feeling very well. Then he says, if I was a head of state, what would I improve? How would I improve the life of Kenyans? I think now you know. I believe in integrity. I believe in all the principles and indicia of good governance that I've said. I'm committed to them. So if I were, hypothetically, I would govern according to the dictates that I have enunciated. I ran for governor, didn't make it, good leaders don't get positions, blah, blah, blah. So first of all, you don't have to occupy public office to do anything. I'm here, I don't occupy public office. I'm making a contribution in my small way, just like every one of us. You are making contributions in your small way, whether it is at the family level, whether it is at the employment level, whether it is as a student, you make your contribution. And that's all I am doing. Now, whether or not good leaders are elected, that's for another day. But that is assuming the elections were fair, free, and credible. Were they? They were not. So how do you know I lost when the elections were not credible? How do you know Sonko won? And between me and Sonko, who would you rather listen to at this event? Does it really matter that he won? And where is he now? You understand? Then the last one, what do we need to do to change the culture of corruption? And I think I've answered that too. Play your role, do your part, organize, and live according to the dictates of what I've gone through. If you did that, even if you achieve just a little bit, I think we should all be okay.
Thank you very much. A good applause for Dr. Miguna Miguna. Thank you, sir. Now I can allow you to have a seat so that we can proceed with the program. Asante sana. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Come and give me when I'm taking a photo. Kindly. Yes, you give me blessings as I continue. A nice photo. Thank you. That's the beauty of being an MC. Asante. Thank you. So, thank you, members. Thank you so much. We are almost coming to the tail end of this. We really appreciate Dr. Miguna, but I'm not the one to appreciate. There is somebody who is tasked with that responsibility, and that is none other than Dr. Murira, the Dean, School of Science and Technology. So thank you, Dean. Kindly come over. From there, we shall be having the presentation of gifts to the chief guest, and from there, then I will give you a way forward. Thank you, Dr. Murira. You can pick the mic. Thank you.
Okay, asante sana Daktari, our MC. Our chief guest, Dr. Miguna Miguna. Karibu tena KeMU. And we really appreciate for, I don't know if people really were able to map all those 14 virtues to the culture that we should live. Not the culture that Kenyans desire. Because he kept on saying, if you don't steal, you appear to be very foolish. A terrible culture. So unfortunately, as a computer scientist, a daktari, we think in stack, like a pit. Najua ukijaza mchanga, huwezi toa ile mchanga chini, unatoa ile tu ya juu. I liked the last 4 points. Financial sustainability, supporting that. Okay? Issues of, being open-minded. Innovation. I see Dr. Laimaru anaangalia Mwakenya hapo kama kuna kitu ninashika. I tried, but they were quite interesting. So because of time, I know students also you have your event, because that's the climax of it all, and you want to showcase your culture and your beauty and what God has blessed you with. I would want us to have a hearty clap for our great speaker who has really inspired us to be, leaders who have that ability to change. You remember he kept talking about changing rules, not changing rules in a cause to favor for failure, but for success. So that is being a transformational leaders, and that is what KeMU is up to. So all the transformational leaders of tomorrow, tutayarishe mikono. Unfortunately, unajua sisi na tuhesabu. We are not artists, so tutenda mathematically. Mnajua factorial? Yes. So factorial 4 ni ngapi? Mmesikia yes mingi. Haraka, how many? 20? 24. So sisi tunaenda factorial 5. najua hesabu itakuwa ngumu kidogo. So factorial 5 inamaanisha just imagine a triangle lakini ikiwa upside down. Inakaa hivyo. So I told you I'm not an artist. So hata hizi vitu hujatoka mbali. Hizi vitu tumeongea nazo juzi. So ukiona nikifanya hivi ni vitu tumepewa juzi tu ndio tumepata hii technology. That's it. 5 4 3 2 1. Rectangle that is upside down. So factorial 5 will start with 5 claps. Tuende 4 claps. 3 2 alafu ya mwisho ili itakuwa kali kabisa. Haya tujitayarishe.
Haya chemsha mkono.
Haya
kindly chemsha mkono.
Nasikia mnajua mzee.
Let's keep studying. I think that is the best honor. Let's keep studying. Thank you. Yeah, tarisha mkono. Dean, proceed.
So tufanye kariaso. 1 2 3 4 5. 1 2 3 4. 1 2 3 1 2 1. Si ndio? Hiyo sio ngumu, ninyi ni wanafunzi wa university. Twende. 1 2 3 4 5. 1 2 3 4. 1 2 3 1 2 1. Asante sana daktari.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mulira. I know Dr. Miguna would not want that one for more year. Ile afunga fungua. I know you not want that. That's a better one. You really did it for him. Thank you. Thank you so much. I will call upon the principal, our principal Nairobi campus, who will call upon the chief guest so that she can present some gift in front of this audience as we come to the close of this event. Principal, karibu. Bring up the gift, please. Those who have the gifts, kindly bring them on.
Thank you so much, Daktari. We have learned. Am I right, students? We have learned, isn't it? And something I really feel that we have learned, it is that you and I, we are the people who make bad governance. And we did that. If we did that, we must also maybe did it in August this year. You refused to vote. You waited for 50 shillings and a bob so that you won't be bribed to vote bad governance. And you are university students. So that's the way when we ask Dr. Miguna, what have you done? Point the other finger. The 5 point at him, the others are looking at you. You, what have you done? What have you done also to bring good leadership and criticize the principal here in KeMU when I'm not doing good things? Do you come to me and tell me, watch ayo? So we have been taught, isn't it? Asante sana, we have learned. And now I'll take this opportunity to call you once more, Daktari. Come with all your, okay? And you have forgotten the blessings. I need that a lot.
Yes, she needs the blessings.
That, yes. And the camera people, make sure that you put one very good photo. Put it in the Facebook. The ones who, tag him in its Twitter.
Yes, the blessings. Thank you. Wow, that's a great one. Thank you as we proceed with that. Thank you as they present the gift.
Thank you so much, Daktari. This is what KeMU, at least when you come to us, we give the umbrella. Every time you go to any meeting, even if it's not raining, open it so that people will see it is KeMU. Just open it so that, Dr. Mauro, you can. Just open. Nice. No,
Just please press the thing and push up. Press. Yes. Thank you. Then cover. Thank you. Oh, nice. Thank you. That's a good caption. Thank you so much. Thank you.
KeMU is telling you there is no rain which will touch you, neither burnt sunset or
sunshine.
Light,
Thank you.
Burnt, but good ones should come to you. This is our blessing.
Thank you so much. Someone can just fold it for him. Fold it for Dr. Miguna.
Then
Yes,
here we are, our cultural week. This is not in the room. This is the best rungu that you can carry. An African man, you are carrying Kenya with you, and Kenya, a beautiful country. See the colors. Thank you. And lastly, but not least in importance.
Open it, so that they don't say you give him an envelope full of gold things. Thank you.
Daktari, KeMU is telling you, let your cup always be full. That goodness we called you in 5 minutes and you came here. Your cup will always be overflowing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Dr. Miguna, please don't move from there because some students want a photo with you, the student leaders. I'm calling upon the student leaders please to come forward before the principal ends. Student leaders, only the leaders. Then from there we shall be having those who asked questions. I will give you an opportunity to have a photo with the chief guest. Kindly come forward. You are the next lot. Kindly, you have to be around if I have to do it. Otherwise, nitawaruka. Yes, please. Thank you. I think that is a nice one. A quick caption. Faculty members, kindly, you are supposed to be standing by here. Faculty members, you need this. I know. Faculty members, led by Eric, kindly. Mufanya haraka, otherwise, ntaruka. Mushai, yes, I can see Muloma and Dr. Mugambi. Kujeni bana, kujeni, please. Kujeni, those who are the, faculty, this one, yes. Dr. Kavondo is there, faculty. Let me have the faculty first. Let me have faculty members first. Excuse me? Yes. Let me have faculty members first, Then I will call. I'm calling you. Yes? Me. I'm also a faculty member. Songa huko. Thank you. Let us have that one. Let's have that. Asante sana, Dr. Miguna, for gracing this occasion. We appreciate it. Thank you. Let me have the student who asked the questions. Please step up. Students, those who asked questions. Students who asked questions. Take that one with the Josephine and Susan. Very quick one. Yes, that one. Thank you. Students who asked questions, please.
You also don't want me to have one.
You can. Yeah, kuja.
I want to tell him something.
Yeah, students, thank you. Yes, that's a journalist student. Thank you. A caption, quick one. Camera, if you're done, you tell me. Thank you. That's a quick one. Asante sana. Then Muloma, you need one. Miguna, I give you that opportunity. Yes, let's sit now. Yes, they want one. Yes, principal, allow them to have one. It's okay. Thank you. Yes. The cultural dancers, I want you there. I want the cultural dancers. Take one. It's an opportunity. You danced for Miguna, so he's going to have a photo with him. Yes, that's a good one. Thank you. Then Muloma, Susan, you can move. Then Muloma can. No, not far. How about you? Yes. Thank you. Have that one. Miguna, those are hospitality faculty members, Dr. Moshai and Muloma. Thank you so much. Dancers, I will leave you out. Come up after that. Thank you. Just one more. Yes. Dancers, I'm sure you appreciated your dance. Dr. Miguna, you appreciated the dance. from this team from Kibra. Thank you. Yeah, you hold your drums. Yeah, you can have your drums on. Yes, that's okay for the photo. Even you can allow Dr. Miguna to hold one. It's a cultural week. Yes, thank you. You can hold one of the drums. Thank you. Dr. Miguna, you can hold one of the drums. You can hold one of the drums. Nice. Yeah, nice, nice. Thank you, thank you. Another team. Yes, thank you so much. I think university management staff, kindly come up. University management staff, you can accompany the principal. University management staff, where are you? If you are here, Dean of Students, please, chairman who are here, kindly. Deans, where are you? Yes, deans who are here. Yeah, I will. Thank you. Let us do that very fast. Wait for me. If you take. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Miguna. We really appreciate it. Asante. This is almost taller than you.
From another university can come.
Anyone from another university? You rest on Nairobi. Those who are here, where are you? Come over so that you can go preaching the gospel that you are at KeMU with Dr. Miguna, and you take to your student body. You can have a short one. Thank you. Yes. No, how many are you? I want to know. Msikuwe wengi zaidi. Yes. A quick one. Yeah, Tosha. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yes. Wake up and tasoma. Just put it. Yeah. Thank you. A quick one. Then we have this team from the Inter-University Council. These are our guests also who visited us today, and they found the chief guest. These are from Inter-University Council. Thank you so much. All the cultural ambassadors who are here, like this one. These are real cultural ambassadors. If you are dressed like this, representing your culture, kindly come fast. Kuja haraka. Kama umevaa kama huyu. Haya, tuende pale. Very fast. Asanteni, that is nice. A quick one, very quick. We are closing this. I'm closing this. Haya, fanya haraka. Is this Congolese? Which one is this? That's Congo, eh? Thank you. Tumetuma jeshi huko. Spread, you can spread over. Spread that side. Yeah, so that you can fit. That is nice. Thank you so much. That's well captured. Asante sana. Zipporah, you have been the organizer. You need a special one with the Miguna before you go, isn't it? Yes, very quickly, Zipporah. Yes, very quickly. The organizer must take one. Then I allow the principal to enter for us. I'll read for them. I'll announce. No, not this. Yes, as they take that one, we have some books on sale. I've been told to just read the title. They are not written by Dr. Miguna, but they are other authors. Songs of Fire. You can get that book at the entrance there. We have another one, Kidneys for the King. This is Dr. Miguna's also. We have the other one, which is Treason. The books are here. Kindly, you can have them at the entrance. And Dr. Miguna has written another one, very big one, bigger than the Bible here, which is called Peeling Back the Mask. Kindly, you can take the opportunity. Thank you, Dr. Miguna, for that. Sorry for many photos, but it's all. Thank you so much.